Mingalabar, and welcome back, hunters. I'm Agent Cara Blackwood, your assigned lead paranormal investigator. Today, today's hunt is codenamed Ancient Death. Now, after we got that covered, let's jump into the files that I have gathered here before you. But before we do, always make sure you like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up to date and keep the world safe from the ghostly horrors. You don't want to get caught without knowing what's out there. It's very dangerous. And our case begins in the town of Walla Walla, Washington, where a young female is living out her single life in a cabin in the woods. The cabin itself was nestled in a grove of trees that was far from any sort of civilization. And that was how Sarah Graham, who just turned 23, loved it. The expansive wilderness and the wild open spaces were a breath of fresh air after growing up her entire childhood, living in a larger city. Hustle and bustle, large crowds. I can relate to not actually liking that. Sarah's passions were nature, biology, and the study of animal sciences. She had a great head on her shoulders and a thirst of knowledge that was rivaled by no other. It was this thirst that led her to live a life either stuck in a library or browsing the web for more and more knowledge. In her case, she really didn't mind one bit. She even considered herself a loner of sorts. People thought her to be nice, pleasant, but even with that, mostly just left her alone because she didn't have the time to do anything else aside from studying her craft. She was around average height, say around 5'3" tall, and had medium length brunette hair, usually a bit messy, with her bangs constantly falling over her eyes. Sarah also had to wear prescription glasses in order to see. Her vision, absolutely dreadful. Without them, she was practically like Velma from Scooby-Doo. She's completely at a loss for her surroundings unless she had her glasses on her face. She even got to the point where she was going to get one of those small silver chains so she can ensure that she had them handy around her neck at all times and didn't lose them, because being caught without them meant she couldn't do anything. Sarah worked as an herbalist, providing medicinal plants for the townsfolk of Walla Walla. She seemed to be the only one in her field to be willing to traverse the uncertain terrain of the wilderness, to retrieve the rarest of the rare ingredients and herbs. She used them to study and to heal others, encountering and putting herself in possible danger every day she worked. But she was confident and believed all life was precious and needed to be respected, but not feared. She single-handedly helped so many by enriching the lives of numerous people, and was beloved by all the townsfolk. Sarah lived her serene and humble hermit life until the horrid year of 2007. First acknowledgement. August 5th, 2007. Sarah Graham had just finished up harvesting some mushrooms that she had needed for a client the next day and using her camera to go to snap a photo for her records, when through the lens she saw what looked to her to be a floating iridescent orb. She moved her eye around the camera to view the mushrooms again, but as she looked, there was nothing there. Absolutely nothing. It was beginning to get relatively dark with the sun setting and the loss of the daylight, so she couldn't make it out. Sarah then looked through the camera again, and once more the orbs were seemingly dancing. She muttered to herself and cursed, because she just remembered her prescription needed to be renewed for her glasses again. So maybe her eyes were just needing to be checked again. She grabbed a pad of sticky notes and scribbled a reminder for herself later. She definitely cannot forget again. In her line of work, eyesight is paramount. A couple days later, on August 7th, 2007, Sarah was busy preparing lunch. A delicious pepperoni pizza with cheesy breadsticks, singing to herself as she worked. She needed to readjust the temperature for the oven, and as she did, her phone got launched onto the floor, right off the kitchen counter, along with the actual timer. It clattered and interrupted her singing, and causing her to jump in surprise. She turned, thinking maybe she had somehow bumped into the counter when she moved to go to the oven. Although, in the back of her mind, she was thinking, I wasn't even really that close to the counter. How could I have actually hit it? But we at the lodge knew better. Something definitely appeared to be present in her home. August 16th, 2007. More nights that Sarah would spend up late, researching or documenting her medicinal finds, lead to more weird occurrences. Things she really couldn't explain. Objects being moved or tossed. Weird thuds in the night. This particular night, the noises were so bad, Sarah thought there was an intruder in her home. She grabbed the fire poker from the fireplace and quickly called the local police. The police arrived approximately 30 minutes after her initial call, quickly searched her home, inquiring if she had anything weird that may have led to her to believe that there was an intruder. She explained, but came off sounding like a scared woman who lived alone. The officer said there were no traces of anybody entering or trying to break into her home. They advised her it would be best if she actually got a dog and then updated her security with cameras all around the house to help her feel more at ease and protected out in the woods all by herself. These actions only seemed to make the matters far more worse for the unfortunate woman. September 6, 2007. There were even more disturbances. Sarah had gotten a dog, like the police advised, named Scruffy. He was this great, fluffy Pyrenees and took no crap from any intruders and loved her to death. She would be reading in her library when cold rushes of air and shadows seemed to dance. Scruffy would bark mad, just madly barking at corners of the room, refusing to move. But she could never see anything there. Absolutely nothing. The corner was just empty. As items and chairs kept getting knocked over, she became increasingly worried. She would take Scruffy and lock her bedroom and hide inside, the fire poker in hand and gripped tightly for protection. Something evil was at work here. October 5th, 2007. A hunter in the area was attending a lecture in Washington on medicinal flora and fauna and overheard particular tidbits and lore that sounded strange from the woman speaking at the lecture. The hunter decided to approach afterwards and offer the expertise of the hunter's lodge, thinking maybe she could benefit greatly from some help. With this evidence and eyewitness accounts before us, whatever entity that was present definitely needed to be sent back into the veil. But you know, that's where we come in. Oh yeah. With our know-how and professional tools and go-get-em attitude, we were going to hunt this entity down and bring this poor family peace. It may be dangerous, but be advised and ever on your guard, because around every corner, it could be lurking. The history of this entity, of course, goes back way back in like time. From what we can gather, it may devour this family until they too become vengeful spirits. All the tools needed have been provided to you, courtesy of the Lodge, to adequately exercise, gather evidence, and find out where their presence resides. On December 8, 2007, at approximately 10:30 p.m., an experienced hunter of Equus rank approached the woman's cabin. Sarah had been called away on business retreat, so the hunter was able to gather what they needed without being discovered or have any pesky lurkers trying to bother them while they're hunting. One male hunter by the name of Robbie Wilson walked in with a video camera, at the ready. The earliest of eyewitness accounts listed that possible orbs were present somewhere here in the vicinity, and he was going to find them. After about, say, maybe an hour of surveying, first the entryway, then the kitchen, and finally the office, orbs seemed to be present. Hovering over the left corner of her desk, there they were, swirling and dancing madly. As he entered the office, though, the door slammed shut, and the room immediately felt colder, even considering it was in the winter months. The hunter jumped into action, reaching in for his thermometer to check to see what the temp was reading. The temperature themselves were low, but not enough to count as evidence. As a precaution, and due to the intensity and the swiftness the entity began to hunt, he placed Dot's projector below the desk, powered on and shining throughout the room. Robbie then placed the writing book open to the left of the Dots. He then proceeded to hide in a nearby wardrobe to safely avoid the entity and getting any sort of harm. Hours and upon hours seemed to just pass by. He found himself reciting all the numbers from 100 down to 1 to pass the time, when suddenly the door creaked open and the book began rising up into the air, accompanied by scribbling. The occurrences were reported around 0100 hours. He knew it was too soon to go out yet. He waited with bated breath. In, out. In, out, he breathed. Eureka! In the Dots, a shadowy, lanky figure formed with a very angry expression on its face, and appearing decrepit looking. Once the entity calmed down, the hunter crept out into the view and dropped notebook. He smiles and snaps a quick photo of the angry scribbles present in the book before swiftly exiting the office. The last thing he wanted to do was do a quick survey of the surrounding areas, just to be sure that he didn't miss any evidence. It was right then that multiple doors began slamming. Open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. Robbie knew it was good. He took precautions because the evidence in question pointed towards an entity he didn't want to mess with any longer than he had to. He reported back to base after exiting the home, safely being able to extract at 0130 hours. On the scene, evidence of dots, ghost orbs, and ghost writing were gathered, unveiling the entity of the entity to be a they. The evidence uncovered was highly, highly valuable to setting the family free from its awful presence. Any hunters out there that are curious or wanting to join the fight, please refer to our Hunter's Guide of the Paranormal for more information on how to survive, and for some, exercise, contain, or elude these entities. Don't rest easy, hunters, for there are many more investigations at large that will need to be solved and vanquished. Many many more poor, unfortunate souls that are unable to rest easily. But until next time we gather in this hunter's cabin, stay safe, protect the innocent, trust your instincts, and remember, the hunt is never done. Happy hunting!